Wednesday morning, that means it's Picayune Wednesday, and once again in our studio with us this morning, the editor of the Picayune, Daniel Clifton.
Yeah. Morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, it is. Did you see your shadow yesterday on Groundhog's Day?
Yeah, and it was a big shadow. I better start eating less.
That was just me standing behind you.
I saw mine too, but I couldn't see my feet. So
I can't recall what it means anymore. If he sees a shadow or he doesn't see the shadow.
If he doesn't see early spring, if he does, 6 more weeks of winter.
Yeah, and he didn't see a shadow, so it's supposed to be early spring this year.
Well, according, the weather yesterday was kind of nice.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. Well, let's talk about the Picayune. Available today, should be on your doorsteps. If you're not getting yours, we'll tell you at the end of the interview how to go about doing that. But in this week's edition, the front page, it says, "On the Trail with the Buffalo Soldiers."
Yes, that's what it does. And he can read, folks.
Yeah, but just don't start singing the song, okay?
Okay. Yeah, On the Trail with the Buffalo Soldiers. It's a program Texas Parks and Wildlife Department does, and they're bringing to the Enchanted Rock State Park this Saturday, but they're also bringing a larger version on the 27th, the Blanco State Park. And if you don't know what the Buffalo Soldiers or who they were, it's a lot of people didn't or don't, and it's a chapter in our history that was it was an African American soldiers who served after the Civil War. Mm-hmm. Who were actually out on the frontier a lot of times they were out in front of the other soldiers. Mm-hmm. And they built forts, they fought in Indians, they defended people. It's a chapter that kind of gets briefly touched on a lot of times, but they made a big impact. They were out in the Texas frontier. They were part of that, and a lot of times they'd go out and they'd serve these people who did not like them because of their color, of skin.
Why did they call them the Buffalo Soldiers?
And that's a good question. The Native Americans apparently named them this because of, and there's several theories, but one of the undergoing theories is the hair of the Buffalo Soldiers, the men, reminded them of the hair of the buffalo. But another story is that because the Buffalo Soldiers, these men were great and professional fighters, and they fought with a tenacity and fierceness that the Native Americans came to respect, much like they said they were as courageous as the buffalo themselves. And so that was so those are two of the ways that it came about.
Well, it's a perfect story in today's Picayune since February is Black History Month.
That's right.
Yeah. So very cool story.
Read all about it. And Daniel, we've told you before that you're a great photographer.
My gosh.
You do great work on your photography, and I noticed that you've got a story in this week's edition about tips on photography.
Oh, it's not tips on photography.
No?
No, this is we're going back to the parks again. I'm sorry. This could be the Parks Department's issue or something, but this is two gentlemen have started a company, Texas Outdoor Adventure Photography Workshops, and they've partnered with Texas Parks and Wildlife to bring these workshops to various parks, and there's going to be one at the end of the month at Inks Lake State Park. These two men are National Geographic photographers. They are professional. One of the gentlemen, Eric Schlegel, and Eric, if I killed your name, I'm so sorry, but it's Eric and Bud Forrest. But Eric took a trip by National Geographic, put him on a trip, or however they do that, where he, I guess, went down the length of the Amazon.
Oh my
documenting, and Bud Forrest is a phenomenal photographer in his own right. So they're coming out to do this workshop at the end of the month, and if you don't get signed up soon, these will sell out.
Oh, I mean,
it's not that expensive for what they do. I mean, but it's just the photography and the level of skills they bring are amazing.
What an opportunity.
Now, we're talking about professional photographers, and we know that they have all of the high-end equipment to do that.
Yes.
But is photography dying because of the cell phone use with the cameras and the cell phones and everything?
No, not really. And as a matter of fact, that's what Bud, when I talked to him, he says, this isn't, it's that idea that you have to have the 300 millimeter big old lens that sticks out 200 feet. But he says that what you'll learn here is you can apply with your phone, your iPhone, to point and shoot. He says that basically going to some basics of techniques, and they're going to spend a couple hours, I think, up front to get everybody on the same page, how to use manual, how to do this. But then you go out with these guys, and they're going to take you out into the field to kind of teach you some of the things they know.
Very
cool.
What a
once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
So if you're in photography, read all about it in this week's edition of the Picayune. And then another story that caught my eye was, it says The Great Adventure, a tour guide. What is this about?
Or it's an outdoor adventure theater. I guess the whole one.
But Jerry,
this is a gentleman, Jerry Pippin, who lives in Horseshoe Bay now. He's retired, and we're going to use that term loosely for him because he doesn't really, his wife is retired, and she loves it. He, not not so much. Jerry built a hunting and fishing guide service in Alaska. And in 1960,
Wow.
he started out in like 1972 was when he moved there in 69. Started the guide service in 72, and at the first point, all he did was fly people in. He guided. He'd fly in, set up a camp. It was a pretty rough camp, you know, and he took you hunting.
Wow.
And then in 82, him and his wife Karen built a lodge up there, and and this isn't just a rustic lodge. He showed me pictures. This is a beautiful lodge that they started, and then as Karen decided, and I guess they both decided it was time to slow down a little bit, so they kind of cut back and retired in 2013, sold the lodge, and he still has a boat up there, and you see he's going to go back up apparently. And so it's just a story about this guy and it's kind of what it took to some of the lessons he learned that can be applied to anybody or anything about you following your dreams and just taking it one step at a time.
All right.
Sounds fantastic.
Read all about it in this week's edition of the Picayune. As we said, it should be on your doorsteps this morning, but if you're not getting your copy, tell them how to go about doing that.
You call 830-693-7152, and let's get you on the list.
And remember, as always, the Picayune is
Free!
Daniel Clifton, everybody.